Greetings and welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Poly Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto, and in the U.S., it's a bank holiday. It's Labor Day weekend, so because everybody's sleeping in the U.S. Except me and enjoying a longer weekend, I'm going over to Europe and going to have a chat with my friend Jan Zoetemelk. Jan, thanks very much for joining us this week.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me, David, to your show.
You've been on before, and you had a great walkthrough for us of the major upgrade from the past versions of our Android video bars up to version 4. And now we have version 4.1 out. And I figured it would be a good idea to go back to you and give everybody that same walkthrough and update in your style, the kind of coffee talks that you do on your YouTube channel, which hopefully I still have a slide somewhere and I'll put up so people will see what it looks like. But I love the walkthrough. There's so many amazing features in this software, which I'm sure you'll get into, including perimeter, and my favorite, the reverb reduction, which is just amazing. Take a room bar, you put it at the front of a room, 15 feet away, and turn this on, and it makes it sound
Absolutely.
like you're talking right into the microphone, which is amazing. So why don't I let you take it away? You can share and give everybody your input.
So hopefully you can see it right here. Perfect, perfect. Yes. So as you said, David, thank you for being on your show. Absolutely, people know me from my YouTube channel, the Coffee Tech things, where I do a lot of tips and tricks and unboxing and all those things, and much appreciated. They're creating a lot of my own content to make it consumable for everybody, because I think this is I think the power to get the message out there to as much people as possible of all those nice features that are out there. And what I then usually do is I walk through all the different versions that we have, but also some new products, especially with the 4.1. We had also a new product that was launched there, and that was the X52. There's part of 4.1. We also see some new certifications, but also some new hardware. And in this case, the X52 came alive. And I got some really nice things about the X52, because I think it's a great new family member for the medium size room, especially about camera. So the camera in the X52 is a 20 megapixel camera, Ultra HD, 4K, a 95-degree lens. So you can see that as the lens we have in the E70, the top lens, which is also a far-end lens, and that seems to be something which is much appreciated, because you can go further in the room with the 95 degrees, so not 120, no, just the 95 degrees, which gives that opportunity with the lens to get a much brighter and better visibility when you go, when you want to go further into those meeting rooms. Now, what is also good at the X52, and here it's everything from the Studio X. The all-in-one concept, the Android part. So it's got camera, speaker, and mic, everything in there. But also it inherits all those features like the directory AI, the noise block AI, so the acoustic, and I will talk that all through, because I got later on a lot of new stuff which you just talked about, and I will also talk about that through where you can find it, and of course acoustic vents, which is able to block out noise when you got a coffee machine maybe on the side of the meeting room or something, to be able to get that noise away there. Now, what was also one of the things for this new bar is, to get an easy mounting option, and I think they did that really well. With the X52, you will get a sort of clamp, which, people are familiar with the X30, which also had this clamp. You just put that on the X52, just on top of the screen, and that means you can really, roll out into mass and get to a much more rooms in a shorter amount of time. And there are other mounting options. So these are, which I also walk through, so you'll get a quick view of that. But I just wanted to let you know what is inside that box. Now, what is shipped with the X52? I think that is an interesting one, because this comes with the TC10 Black Edition. Very nice one, 10-inch. It's brand new touch panel at the table. You can also use it as a scheduler. And that combined, yeah, gives especially for the mid-size to large-size rooms, I think a really interesting new addition also to that portfolio. If you want the white, because there is a white edition, you need to probably separate it, so you get just a single X52, and you get separately you get a touch panel. But as I understand, most of the customers are asking for black edition, so I think this should be yeah, should be most of the orders we should be seeing it. What about the I/O of the X52? Well, that is similar as with the X50. Similar I/O. The only thing that we don't have on the X52 is the analog input and output. That seems to be that's not really used a lot because you got this single concept, this single all-in-one bar. So you really don't, yeah, need just that analog pieces in there. So they left it out of the X52 further. You got just dual screen, HDMI input, and also don't forget you will get that BYOD mode, which is called device mode in the Studio X series. So you could just hook it up to your laptop, get the HDMI ingest also, and then you're able to get this to the table and use any video platform from your laptop. And yeah, I think that is really powerful. There's at that time no limitations. People can just walk in and able to use that if needed. Now, where I'm really a fan of is also the metal faceplate. I think that is also an interesting one. That is available and coming along with the X52. Well, coming along, it's an option by default. You will get the cloth version, as they call it, sort of, yeah, more the soft skin. But of course, in medical, in manufacturing, you need these clean rooms. These are very clean rooms, so you cannot have any dust or anything in there. And there is now a metal faceplate which is available. And I saw it was also available for the X30. So just good to know. And if
Yeah,
people
we
want
have
to
had
know,
clients asking us for that for a very long time, especially, in healthcare where they want to go in and sterilize everything in every room all the time. So that's a great
yeah,
option, a great addition. It's really an example of us listening to our customers.
yeah, great point. Great point. Yes, and it also has that microban on it. So that means it's got an antibacterial layer. So if people are touching it or it comes into certain environments, it will not be on the device or stay on the device. This is really something built from fabric. It's not something that goes away. It's really built a part of the material. So as you said, I think a very, very nice and welcome addition as an option to the X52 and the X30. What is important is the X52 comes with an initial version of 4.1. So probably, yeah, people will ask what is the initial version? Well, the 4.1 is always like every software piece has been tested for a while. And because we wanted to ship out the X52, it was already loaded with a 4.1 version. Of course, what we recommend is to upgrade to that latest version, the 4.1, which is available. If you hook it up now to your network, you should be able to see a final version of 4.1, and you need to upgrade to that version, and that will open up all the features and functions in the X52. Just something to remember if people already received the X52. Just good to know to upgrade to open it all up. Quickly on the mounting, because I want to dive into the software features, of course, because you're really excited. But just quickly, mounting options. You got really a lot of interesting ones. And you have the mount option for on the wall. You got a mount option for the table, similar as with the X50. You got a mount option for top or under the screen. And yeah, there is an X50 like adapter. So in case you want to switch. So you got an X50 in the room, what you want to switch because you want to have this higher resolution camera, be able to go further into the room. Then we got also an adapter, so you can use the X50 in another room and maybe get the X52 in this room where you want to be able to zoom a bit further. So this adapter is available. Just good to know. The other thing, which is brand new, and probably David, you've also seen it, is they are really working nicely on videos to support you with how to mount. And I didn't want to leave it out because I know that engineering teams and product teams have really been working hard to get those animations out there. So we got now animations on the support website, which will show you step by step how it looks like, how you need to install, which tools you need, and everything. So yeah, just good to know. Check it out on the support side of Poly under the X52 documentations. You will find those videos, and probably this is a brand new step for every new product which will be coming to accomplish that with some great videos to help you with the installation. All right, just a little bit on the basis, because I think this is very important. If we're looking at the platform, so the PolyOS platform on Studio X, there's a lot of features in there, a lot of great features. And I always use this as the basis before I talk about the software release we have right now, because I think it's very important. There's a lot of features and functions in there. For example, dual monitor was not available on all applications, but you see now that some applications like Teams and Zoom, they support now the dual screen. And also, I will talk about a new application we have, which also supports now dual screen. But just good to know. But in the basis, this device supports all those features and functions. But it's important that it could that application, which running on top of it, is not supporting all of them or needs a specific license. Like with Teams, you need a Pro license to use dual screen functionality. Just
Right, we have it built into the device, and every native application that's running on it, and we obviously run more native applications on Android devices than any other manufacturer out there, can take advantage of the feature or not. It's up to them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a great platform to work off.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as an operating system level, we got a Poly OS platform. This is the basis, the ground of this platform, which is of course secured and hardened by design. So this is now based on Android 10, the latest release. And what else is on top of this operating system? We got all those different applications. Now, what I wanted to mention, because this is an important one, is if we bring out a new version like 4.1, it could be that from the Zoom side or the Microsoft side that there is already a newer application or a hotfix, security hotfix or an update that could be that it is coming from the different platforms themselves. And that is possible. So the operating system and the application can independently work from each other. So there's always a possibility for customers to roll out some sort of emergency patch or something. This is something which is built from the ground up to make this very flexible. But just good to know, because I think a lot of customers always wait before rolling out something, but you don't have to wait. If Microsoft has an hotfix available, an important security update, you can always push it out, and push it out not only to Studio X, but you can also push it out to the touch panel, because that is running similar applications. And of course, with the other applications, it's a similar experience. Now, let's get to the software, because there's different routes also to get to that latest software version 4.1. Now, first off, if you are running one of the older versions on the device, like the 3.14.1 or 3.14.2, this was one of the versions before we got to 4.0. This was the previous versions I had with David about 4.0. If you're still running one of those earlier versions, you got a green light. And so you can go from 3.14.1, 3.42, you're able to go up to version 4.1. And you don't have to go first to 4.0, 4.01. No, you can go from the base version from 3.41, 3.42 directly up to the 4.1. Now, here comes an important part. What will happen is your devices will move to Android 10, and because you're coming from Android 8, as you see right here, and you're moving to Android 10 on the Studio X devices. But the touch panels, and I think this is a critical one, the touch panels will go to Android 11 with 4.1. Now, why I'm mentioning this? Because I know if you upgrade and you have it in Teams, it could be that, for example, Intune or one of those security policies could block it. Yeah, just want to make people aware that that check with your team, do one or two devices, upgrade them from that 3.41 to 42, upgrade to 4.1, and check if that is all compatible with your current environment. This is what I always recommend before you roll out the rest of the devices. Now, another thing which is important, if you're already running maybe one of the 4.x versions, so 4.0, 4.1, or 4.02, then you can upgrade to the 4.1. Absolutely, you got a green light because you're on Android 10 already, yeah, because that was part of the 4.0. So you go to Android 10, but same thing, watch out because the touch panels will move to Android 11. And of course, if it is Android 11, you cannot go back to earlier versions of Android. This is something, yeah, which you not even do on your phone. If you move to a new operating system, you're not going to change it back. If you move to Windows 11, you're not going to just change back to Windows 10. And especially with these devices, Purple Pill's devices, the chips inside the Studio X are also prepared if you do an upgrade to Android 10 and to Android 11 to make sure the chips inside are compatible and the drivers are compatible. So this is a one-way route for operating system level. You can, if you look at software and applications, you can go back as you see at the marker here to, for example, 402 if needed. So in software, if you are within Android 10, and you're moving within Android 10, of course, you can move between software versions. So that is good to know. Now, if you do a factory reset, what you will see is that the 4.1 is part of that disk now. So if you move to 4.1, factory image will get this update. So if you ever need to do it, factory reset it somehow, you will get back to 4.1. You're not moving back to any 3.x version or something. You just move back to 4.1. So that is also good to know. In any case, if you run into something. Now, downgrade. So what is a downgrade option? Here is a red light. Again, as I mentioned it earlier, 4.1 cannot be downgraded to 3.x because as I said, Android 10 to Android 8, impossible to do that. And you will get a message inside the product that it's not compatible. So it will also warn you there's a security check built in. So it will keep an eye on you if you're not trying to do that. How do you upgrade and downgrade? Just quickly. Well, first off, if you have just one or two units or you want to test it out, you can go into the web UI, you go to the device management, and there you can choose that software upgrade. What I always recommend is to turn off auto upgrade. Turn it off because, as I said earlier, part of the 4.1 upgrade, your touch panels will move to Android 11. And this is something you want to validate within your organization, looking at the Microsoft side Intune policies to make sure that that is covered. So this is just through the web UI, straightforward. If you got
That's,
field
by the way,
username,
advice that I give everybody, even on their personal mobile devices. Do not
yeah,
automatically upgrade any apps because you never know if anything is going to keep working.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the option is here. I understand because maybe some customers just want to make it easy, but yeah, at the end, if there is something which is not working expected, and you come on Monday morning in the office, you don't want to have surprise that something is not working as expected for your community, of course. Yeah. Now the other option is support side. You got a demonstration or you need to do an installation. Well, you can use the software also on a stick. Make sure you got all the correct versions with you to upgrade to the right steps, and that is also part of the possibility. The one that I really like and customers more and more find their way to is Poly Lens. Here you can go up and down, but within 4.x or still in 3.x, you can move within 3.x, but you need to move within those major versions, but you can. So if you upgrade to 4.1, you identify any issues in an environment you want to just test. If that incompatibility or something was not in the 402, then you can go always one step back, easy with Polyland. So I think this is really powerful. You can create groups for testing. You can set centrally set camera settings or other specific settings for Studio X. So I think this is always a really good possibility to manage your devices. And more features are coming to Polylens. Probably somebody will come also in your show to talk about that because there's a lot of things going on the Polylens side. Now, another way to upgrade is using the Teams Admin Center. Of course, this is where you can find also the Studio X and your touch panel, TC8 or TC10, and there you can also upgrade both of them devices. Same for Zoom device management. If you use it in native Zoom, you also have the possibility there to upgrade both touch panel and those devices.
No
Now,
wrong answers there, right? It's just whatever
no,
the customer prefers.
it is incredible, David, the flexibility that we provide. And even if you use Teams and you want to manage specific camera settings, which is of course not by the native platforms, you can always do that with Lens in the backend. So there's always that possibility. So even the hybrid, as we sometimes call it, is an option. Yeah. Now, looking at new features. So here we start. So we're trying to build up that excitement. Device mode. This is, I think, still a very popular option. I did quite some videos on that on my channel. Also, it's a popular one because people just use the USB cable, HDMI cable, or they combine it with a dock. I see that also today. So you got those docks for example from HP, where you can even can deliver power and even can deliver network. All that stuff comes together in the dock. You put the cables in there from Studio X, and you got like this one single cable up to the table. So there's a lot of things going on. Device mode has got an update in this new version, and that is that it shows you now the camera option. You can even turn it off or if you don't want it, but in the web UI or through Polylens, you can turn off. Yeah, you can turn on the camera option now. And what will happen if you click on that, you will get to a screen where you can enable or disable tracking and do a manual PTZ or use presets. I think a really powerful one because in the past you need to search that in a sort of side menu, so that is available always as a backup scenario if you slide on the side. But of course, if a user is able to find it like this, it's much easier to turn tracking on and off. And this is if you got a touch screen, of course, you can do this on the touch screen. And if you got a TC8 or TC10 at the table, then you will have this menu on that device. So this is an update in that 4.1, which is available now. Now, we have a very interesting one, and probably you've heard talking on some events also about it. This is the first phase, and of course, I made some notes because I know there are still some things in the works, but it is available now, so you can hook up your E70 camera over IP. And yeah, I know because a lot of people were struggling with all those USB cables and extenders, etc. And now there's a possibility, but as I said, there's still some limitations because it's only in Poly and in Zoom. Now, if you're on these platforms, you're safe, but for example, in Teams, this is not recognized yet by the application, but you can at least now start testing and play around with it. I think really nice. One E70 over IP. Now, how does that work? Well, you need to connect it over USB, which was in the basis, and it got it powered. Upgrade to 1.8. That's the latest version for the E70. Or you can use PolyLens if you want it. Just hook it up to your laptop. There's also a possibility, of course, or if you connect it to Teams Room, you can upgrade it there. So there's different possibilities. But if you upgrade it here through the G7500, then you hook it up to LAN because it will be discoverable, which is a cable which can go up to 91 meters. Really nice. So you can customize this cable and just hide that in the room.
Yeah, we've
Uh,
had a lot of customers asking us for that. We no longer have to use,
yes,
boxes at either end in order to make it go over IP. It's a really good feature, and I hope some other manufacturers catch up with that because that's one of the
yeah,
reasons why it's not team certified because you can't swap it for any other cameras because there aren't any other cameras doing it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're we're
yeah.
we're kind of
Yeah.
leading the pack here again.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is really, yeah, I think step in the right direction to make it very flexible also for our IV integrators, etc. Now, you keep still two ports open for your IP table mics or your seating mics, so these are still available to connect them. Now, I made some notes just to make sure that that is covered. So Poly and Zoom is supported today. No smart gallery, just a limitation, which is also in the documentation. We got today a single IPE70. Well, of course, this is a limitation today, but that could also change in the future. Don't mix IP and USB. It could work, but it's unsupported today. And if you want to change between the E70 and you want to change it back to USB, you need to make sure you unpair it in the web UI. That is important. And then it will open up the USB port again. So don't connect them both. Just use IP. If you want to go back to USB, just go in the web UI, say unpair, just like you do with the TC8 and the TC10, and then the USB cable will be enabled again, and then you can use USB. But I really recommend to start playing around with this because there's gonna happen a lot more on this area. So really, really exciting. A reset, if there is any issues between switching them, just do the reset there. So there is a reset button here on the E70. Just hold it and you put on the power, and in a couple of minutes you will reset it and it will be back in a normal state. Just good to know. This is one which I get a lot, asked a lot by the bigger customers for security, and that is SCAP. We have SCAP available now as the on the codec side. So on the touch panel TC8 and TC10, still need to do that manually, but we have SCAP available. And what is SCAP? Simple certificate enrollment protocol. Just to yeah, to give some clearance there. So this means the whole enrollment, renewal of certificates, etc. You can imagine if you got hundreds of those devices and you require 802.x, network security and all that stuff, then you got to be working with certificates and all those things. And that can be complex if you need to do that all manually. So this is really going to help to get that security to that next layer. And as I said, it is codec only in this release, and for the touch panels, you need to do that manually. Now, one other really interesting feature where we had requests from the customers was to do a scheduled auto restart. This is something which, for example, Teams Room Windows does every night, just to clean up memory, clean up the application, etc. But as you see here, it's a codec only reboot. I think that's very important. So if you reboot, the touch panel, the whole touch bar will not reboot, but the application will restart. So at least it will also refresh or restart if you got a Zoom or you got a Teams application, and that will do at least a restart. So in this release, we only restart codec. So that is good to know. And you can schedule that through the web UI. So you can do that daily. You can do that weekly. So you might want to do that weekly on Sunday, maybe in the evening, and do a restart to refresh for the whole week. And other thing, you can do that through PolyLens, of course, and just yeah, make sure you have a scheduled auto restart available. Now, this is the one where you were talking about, David, and also I'm really excited about those features because here comes that that AI engine, that next gen thoughts about the meeting room. I think this is now really, really lifting off and starting to show some things. The sound reflection reduction, the words for Dutch is a very interesting, a very interesting one. But what it does is if you got those challenging meeting rooms, video conference rooms, and there's a lot out there with hard floors, you got glass, the most nasty environments, and sometimes impossible. Have executive rooms, everything need to stay as it is, or these are like special rooms. There's not everywhere where you can just kind of change everything to make the acoustic optimal for the audio. Well, there's a feature now available, sound reflection reduction, which you can use in those acoustic challenging rooms, and it's trying to get those echoes away in the room, so give a much more optimal experience for the user and get the voice clearance much better. I already got some feedback from customers which had challenging rooms with high ceilings, for example, because that is also a nasty one with video conferencing, because the audio is going somehow and in all kinds of directions. So same thing. You can use sound reflection reduction to test it out. What
It's
is
something that you
yeah
actually have to hear to understand. And I'm gonna, pause for a second. I'm gonna play the clip so that people can actually
yeah
hear what the difference is, because once you've heard it, you
yeah
get it. It's really amazing what we've been able to do with some of our engineering.
Reverberation can be a major issue in video calls, especially in larger spaces that have a lot of glass walls, like you see here. And you might notice this even more as people start to turn away from the microphones to talk to someone who's sitting more in the back of the room.
Typically, to remove these audio artifacts, it would require acoustic paneling or complex hardware microphone arrays. And these can be very costly and time-consuming to install.
But now, with voice clarity enhancement from Poly, reverbs can be removed from calls via software upgrade. So let's turn the feature on. Voice clarity enhancement is now on, and you should be able to immediately hear the difference.
And this is true even for those who are sitting further away from the microphones. You should still sound close and clear, even if you're turning away to talk to someone who's sitting in the back of the room.
So what is important there? Noise block AI, because you're switching here between noise block AI and between sound reflection. Now, what is important? Part of the sound reflection reduction, don't worry, is the noise block AI functionality. So this is part of this item. If you select sound reflection reduction, you also get that noise block AI. So if people are clapping or sitting with sandwich boxes or bags or anything, it will try to filter that out as much as possible. Now, a good one to know is that if you're using the extension mic, that is also working in combination with the sound reflection reduction. So if you have an extension mic further in the room, because you got quite a big room and you have speakers maybe sitting a lot on the other side of the room, then it could be interesting to add that extension mic. But just be aware that also the sound flex reduction is supported when using this extension mic. Not with the Trio, because the Trio, if you have that as an extension mic, that will take the DSP functionality out of Studio X. It will bring it to the Trio, and there you have at least noise block AI, but not sound effects reduction. So that is just good to know as a references. And of course, you can also set those settings through PolyLens. All those features and functionality is both locally in the web UI and you have them in PolyLens. Now, this is also one which I'm also really excited about. You can see the AI popping up everywhere. I'm also starting to become a big fan of this, or because it's gonna make the next gen meeting room, I think, really interesting. Is there's a preview feature which has been available now, and that is Director AI Parameter. It's a preview feature because, as you can see, we're still like getting feedback from customers, testing it. You enable that through the web UI, or you enable it through PolyLens. And in PolyLens, same time, you got a feedback button on the side. So if you want to test it out, provide us some feedback of your experiences, and this is why it's called still a preview feature, just to test it out and get feedback from customers to play around with it. Now, what does it do? Add the parameter, the director AI parameter. Well, you got rooms, a lot of glass, and people are walking a lot or standing here with coffee outside those rooms. It's a very interesting one. And so if you got a meeting here and you enabled group tracking, for example, what it will do if people are standing behind the glass, it will zoom out and try to add that person which is outside the room, try to add that to the meeting. And that can be very confusing, of course, if the focus is on the team sitting in the room, and it will add people who are talking, moving, or standing with coffee. So it's not the situation and the scenario you want to have. So what we've done in 4.1, we have the ability now to configure the different sizes of the room and program that in the Studio X. So it's able to block out, so you point the room size, as you see right here, you point in the depth, you point in the width, and you point in how far the table is from the screen. You got those different parameters in meters or in feet. You have both of them available here in the drop-down menu, and it will create a sort of virtual fence, but for video. So everybody knows acoustic fence, of course. Yeah, I've been there a long time also with the Polycom world, and there we had acoustic fence. So that was a sound where you could set a parameter for sound. And now you see a parameter for video, which, yeah, it's gonna be a really, really interesting one to see those type of features now popping up in our product. So as I said, I'm really looking forward to the future with all those different types of possibilities which are coming alive
Yeah,
now.
and it's more than just removing the like a shot of somebody standing outside a glass conference room, where they might be picked up by the camera. It obviously does that situation very well, but you can now set virtual conference rooms almost side by side in large open spaces. You can put, a 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 person table. You can put 9 of them next to each other in a large open cafeteria and set each camera to have the director AI perimeter, so it's only shooting the people at the table, an acoustic fence, so it's only picking up the audio from the people at the table. And those tables can almost be side by side. You don't need walls between them anymore. It's really an amazing
Absolutely.
feature.
Absolutely. No, that is a great call. It will make, especially you got those rooms closer to each other, etc., gonna make it a lot easier and to use the benefits with all those tracking functionality.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to argue with architects why they would put, conference tables in cafeterias next to each other. And I said, we can't do that because they're going to be confusing everybody. And the truth is,
Yeah.
we kind of can now.
Yeah, correct. And this is the first phase, as you see, this is going to be baby steps into that AI. So I see in 2 years, David, it's going to be super interesting what we see already now, this coming up. But I see in 2 years, I see so many, new possibilities in the conference room, which will be there. I think, a really next gen feeling which you almost get from those possibilities.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, and of course, you can configure same thing in a poly lens. Probably it will be per room, unless every room has the same size. Then you can do this specifically on a group in poly lens. But yeah, probably that will be not all customers. Most of the rooms will be probably a bit different. But that you got that option in poly lens to do that as a per room. And of course, don't forget to provide feedback. I think that's a great one. They're asking engineering is asking ready for feedback on that feature.
Yeah, we've had Robert Manacero on the show many times, and that's one of the great features of PolyLens is that it automatically enables feedback from everybody that's using new features.
Yeah, yeah, correct. This is really, really helpful. Yeah, this is also one with the 4.1 and makes life, I think, also a lot easier. We made speaker framing enhancements in this release. So speaker framing enhancements, because camera was trying to look for a speaker all the time in the room, and that was sometimes a bit confusing. If multiple people are talking, there was a lot of reframing. So what has happened now with the speaker framing enhancement is make it looser, make it much looser. So if somebody is talking now in the room, what it will do is if more people are closely sitting to this person which is talking, it will also capture those participants. And then if one of those are talking, it will not reframe. Because that was a response we got from the market, that the camera is just framing, reframing, reframing, and that is just confusing for the remote participants who's trying to follow what's going on in the room. So it really it gives a much more relaxing feeling for the remote participants now getting a view of the participants in the room. The next scenario, and I don't have all the scenarios here, but the next scenarios, for example, when nobody is talking, or if muted, or the far end is talking, what will happen? It will show all the participants. It will just zoom out, just relax and show everybody who's in the room. So remote participants can see the faces. If I'm talking about a certain project, etc. I think this is also very natural and confident for speaker framing. Now, the other one is when a person is sitting on one side just by itself and is starting to talk. Well, at that point of time, of course, it will zoom into this person because he is the only one in this frame. There's nobody sitting close by, and then it will zoom in. Now, there is one additional scenario. So if this person is talking and suddenly the person on the other side is talking, it will, well, in the past, there was a sort of like slow going to the other person, but now it is a cut to the other person. So it will just give a much quicker and much more relaxing feeling for the remote participants. And so they really enhanced it. Listen to the market, as you already said earlier. Listen to the market, listen to the customers, and we're trying to try to improve this as much as possible for the user community to use those type of features. Yeah. So these are speaker framing enhancement. This is also an interesting one, and I don't see this a lot in Europe here, but there's always an opportunity, of course. That is telehealth. X30. So what they've done in 4.1, they opened up the USB ports to add a second camera. So if you have an X30, you have the possibility now to add one of those cameras, which are on the supported list, are on the release notes, and you can use them as a second camera. And then think of those cars here, which you see with the screen, X30 on top. Of course, you got that metal plate in the
Mhm.
medical, because that's available also for the X30. So I think this was also feedback which was coming from the market to have this available, as you've said earlier. This is available in the poly and the zoom mode, so that is always good to know. Specifically on Teams, because we also have all those applications, of course. So it's not only in general like the Poly operating system with the general features, but there's also some updates specifically on Teams. And this is also one which I'm really excited about, and that is that the TC10 is officially certified now, Microsoft Teams, as a controller. And starting as a controller. Scheduler coming in, but at least as a controller, we have it now available. So that is, I think, really nice because it's standard shipped with the X52. You can even have it now with the G7500 as a kit, as with the G7500 and the X70. So there is just one SKU where you get everything in one box. And so I think this is also just good to know. This is an update on the hardware side for Teams. With the 4.1 release, we'll deliver the device with the update 2. That was of June 2023. That is still the latest version. I know there's probably one of the days an update coming in, but at least when we released 4.1, we had this release. And in case any updates are coming from Zoom or Teams app. Yeah, as I said earlier, you always have the possibility to upgrade the package from those platforms. Yeah, there's a lot of great features in there. I won't dive them all because yeah, we just have we just have 1 hour, and I would say check out also on my channel where I do a deep dive on those features. I show them step by step where you can find them, etc. But there's a lot of things like maintenance, of course. There's always some maintenance, which is part of those updates. We can now control cameras when you install this app, and so there's some camera control coming in here. Be aware that some of those features need the Pro license, but it will show you that on the touch panel. This is always good to know. You can add content cameras now on Android. You can switch between cameras. It's just the initial release. It's not like officially supported yet on the Studio X, but that should be coming soon. But you can play around with it. So the camera switching is available now from the Teams application side, and the default layout controls. So you can set every room to the same layout just to give that, yeah, that identical experience if you walk into this room or that room. So you can set that now as a default in Teams Admin Center. Just quick, just high level. One of the things which I think are good to mention, that if you are using 402, you can upgrade to 4.1, no problem, in the Teams mode. You got a green light, you can go to 4.1 in Teams mode, no problem. But always check if you have company portal, as you see right here, the 5484. This is the one you need to be on, so that all the apps are compatible. So the Teams app and the company portal, that everything works together. So the company portal, what is it? Company portal, when you sign in, it's doing the communication with Intune, with the policies, etc., etc. So that is a very important one, to keep that in sync with the Teams app. And this is why I specifically mentioned that, because I know if you tested earlier with some versions of the 4.1 release, it could be that you are on another version of the company app. And so always check that you are on this version, and not only on the Studio X, but also on the TC8 or TC10. So that is good to know. Now, if you're not on one of those versions, what do you need to do? You need to go back with the company portal, and you can do that by running factory reset on the device. Use the pin reset, and the same thing on your touch panel. You can also reset the device, or if it's not accessible, you can use the pin reset in the back. This will bring back your application to the base version, to the original version which came and part of the package, and that is the version I showed you earlier. So just good to know. This is not needed for everything, but always good to check if you're on the right versions, which are of course also available in the release notes. Now, if you do that, first, before you do that, write down the serial number. Just a tip, because I know that otherwise you need to probably, if it's mounted somewhere, screwed, then you need to just reduce the screws again, because it's not easy to access that. So write down serial number, copy it in Notepad, and then it's just quite quickly to get back into the web UI, which needs the last 6 digits of the serial number to access the web interface. That is concerning Teams. What's happening on the Zoom side? This is also moving fast forward. There are a lot of exciting things. With the 4.1, we have release 5.15.1 coming along. Again, same thing as in Teams. Check out on the Zoom device management portal, the admin portal, because there could always be newer versions, but you can push them out separately to the Studio X and to the TC8 or TC10. What happened? Well, we have a new addition in the family, so we already supported the Zoom Room on Android, multi-camera mode. We already had that available with 3 cameras, 720p. I really love this feature, so you're able to use 3 cameras at 720p at the same time in a meeting. So just imagine, as you see right here, you got a room view, you got a camera on the speaker, you got a room view from another side, and the remote participants can even pin on those different pictures. And so it's a really nice. Well, we're adding now, of course, the X52 also to to this support for the multi-camera mode. Smart gallery, same thing. So with the smart gallery is what happens if you have complete room view. With smart gallery, it's different. It will just cut out the different participants in the room, but just with one camera. Just making sure that that is the case. It's just trying to, cut out those participants and show it, which is 720p. And the same thing is happening now with the X52. So I think also a really great one to see that available across the board of our products. And so whatever your room you walk in, you get that same user experience. Really some nice things. Directional audio also on the X52 with one screen. And what is directional audio? Well, if people talk on the left side of the screen, it will give audio on the left side. If people are talking on the right side of the screen, you will get the speaker on the right side. So a really nice one. I don't know if people will notice it, but I think it's a really great feature to get this sort of, which we had from the Polycom side, that telepresence experience. David will probably still remember. There you also had this type of experience with people sitting in the middle and on the side, and the audio, the microphone were picking that up, and it was also giving that same experience to the other end. So you could really hear the audio coming from different directions. And we're
Yeah,
trying to sort of,
2008, 2009. It's still a blur. It still comes up in my nightmares every once in a while. So
I
I do remember.
absolutely that same here. So room capacity notification that is available. So it will show you the number of participants in the room, not only on the scheduling panel, but also inside the room. Lastly, on the Zoom side, this is probably some of those features which you will also see on some shows because there's a lot of marketing and shows now around it. Is the intelligent director, which is I think also really the next step with AI on the video side. So what is happening here? And this is the Zoom Room Windows. Just to remind you, the Zoom Room Windows, not on the Android yet, just only on the Windows side today. Public beta and should become later in an official release, but everybody can test it at least now. And what will happen is multiple cameras in the room combined with the video AI technology, it will capture all the participants and the AI will take care of it. It will look at the participants, see which camera has the best view of which participant. Well, if you ask me, and up to 16 participants, this is a really interesting time moving forward to see those type of functionalities. And this will, of course, is now with 3 cameras, but I can already imagine this with multiple cameras or having an auditorium to pick out everything. So it's, I think, a really exciting time to see all those great features. One which I notified at one of my customers who was really happy about this on the Zoom side is if you're using the touch panel in the wide layout, and the wide layout as you see right here, in the past it was always that wide layout. So it didn't change to anything or it just went black or something. Now you can enable a screensaver where DTC8 or TC10 will be dimmed. So on the screen you can get digital signage or you can get a black screen. And on the TC8, TC10, which was in the night, when it was in the white edition, it would shine lights in the meeting room, and that with saving power, etc. It doesn't make sense. So we have this now dimmed, which also means it's using less LCD and less power, etc. And they had some power meters in everywhere through the building, and they could really see that the power was going down from all those meeting rooms. I think they had 90 of those Studio X devices in the Zoom mode with those touch panel. So just something, share some field things which are notified and could be, I think, also handy for other people. One platform which I wanted to show you. The rest is more of maintenance updates. So one platform is the Google Meet app, which is also since the 4.0 natively available on the Studio X devices. It's very easy to activate it with a serial number. You go in that Google admin portal and you were able to activate it. It's available for small room, using it with the X30. It's available for your medium-sized room, using it with the X50. And it's available for your large room with the X70. Now, there's one new feature which was available, and I know that there's quite some customers who are waiting for it, is the dual screen support. So we have now in the Google Meet app the latest application, which will automatically be installed. As soon as you hook it up, you will get updates from the Zoom platform. You will be able to use two screens and get on one screen, get the content, and on the other screen get the participants, which is that experience which a lot of people appreciate and understand, that you got the dedicated screen to see your presentation. On the other end, you can see all the faces from the other participants. And of course, we got Studio X now, which is part of the medium-sized room. So that is also an option now to use that with the Google Meet. Touch panels which are supported with Google Meet, just as a reminder. So we got TC8 and TC10 supported there, which were already supported, but these are both available to use with those with the Google Meet application. And of course the BYOD functionality, so the device mode. And so if you are using it Google Meet, and you got sometimes customers coming in specifically for other video platforms, they can just hook up the USB cable and the HDMI cable, will switch to the device mode, and then you're able to combine that with that functionality. I think a really nice one. Now, in the release notes, you can find all the different versions, and as you will see, most of them is maintenance updates. So I just wanted to pick out the highlights, as I know that the time is limited, and I'm always a bad in timing. So just find all the different websites here where you can just review what updates and what maintenance there are. You can find also the software versions, so you can check if you are on the right versions after you've upgraded to that 4.1 release. Oh, one pointer maybe to the release notes. Here you can find always a list to all those different features, new features, and the different functionality, tested products. So for the different hardware devices, which applications are supported, etc. Really excited. And this was my last slide. I also will do an extended edition on the Coffee Tech Jan YouTube channel. So if you're looking for a more deep dive and show you some hands-on, I would just recommend you check out also Jan's Coffee channel, where you can find more information.
Wow, Jan, that's amazing. It's an hour's worth of information that probably had like 10 hours worth of data inside.
I don't know.
I really,
How late
really
is
appreciate
it?
that.
Oh,
We're
1 hour.
Yeah, we're that's one of the longest shows we've ever done, but it's all really very worth it. So if anybody wants to ask you a question about anything that you've covered, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you got any questions or comments, I think just reach out on jan.zoetemelk@hp.com, or you can always comment in my videos on my channel, and I will also try to comment there as much as possible.
John, thank you very much. That was exhaustive and detailed and wonderful, and we've got a lot of great features, and I love being able to present this content to our customers. For everybody at HP and Poly, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you spending an hour with us today, and we will see you on next week's show.